Welcome back, you guys. Tonight we're going to be working on the CZ75 P-07 duty. I want to first tell you that this is my first CZ laser stippling video. Customer came to me, wanted to do a full build video. Slide, barrel, frame. Guys, we turned that video out. That video came out tonight as well, the same time this video came out, but this video is more dedicated to the actual laser stippling portion of the project. There was a lot of stuff in the other build video that was the whole picture, but this happens to be dedicated to the stippling portion of it because there isn't a lot of content on Google or YouTube. If you search, you really just don't find it. So I want to take it a little slower. Wanted to go at a little bit slower pace. Want to take a little bit more baby steps and not just jump right into it and skip a lot of the good content. And I'll have a lot of you guys asking questions. Let's just take it one step at a time. So what we're going to do is we are going to laser stipple this for the project. You may or may not have already seen this. If you have not seen the build video, go back and watch the other one. At the end of this video, you will see the entire project video listed. So you can click on that, you can watch that, and you can actually see what's going on with that. Very, very cool. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be cleaning up the existing grip zone. So we got some grip zone here. Everything that's smooth that they didn't texturize from CZ, we're not going to touch. We're pretty much going to leave those alone. So we're going to go ahead and work on these grip zones here on both sides. So we're going to clean those up. We're going to go ahead and laser those. We're going to walk you through that process. We're going to see it before and after it's been coated and things like that. So we get the whole picture. And I think it's going to give you guys just a better visual overall. I don't know what we're going to be doing up here yet. I don't know if we're going to smooth this, if we're going to run some laser stippling up here. I don't know 100% what the customer wants because I just notified them tonight that we do have the ability to do laser stippling. I did run some samples in the inside. I know this is hard for you guys to see. I ended up running the, let's see if we can move the light a little closer here. See if we can get you guys something real here. I ended up running, you can kind of see in here, the CZ logo across this, and I actually hit it first time. So I happen to have a lot of patterns that or I should say templates or system parameters that I use for laser stippling. I used the one that I figured would work the best, and sure enough, I got it. So I ended up running 4 more just to see if I could tweak it a little bit better. I did find one that was an upgrade from my original thought-based pattern, so we ended up perfecting it on basically the first 5 hits. So we should come out with a really nice, clean, crisp pattern overall in the end. But that's pretty much how you do it, guys. What you do is you run a sample on the inside somewhere. Once you have that formula, you can use it on all the other frames because most of the manufacturers use the same polymer across all their lines of frames. So we'll be able to use this on all the rest of them. But at the end of the day, you have to sample it out on something, and you usually do that in some kind of a hidden area where you can't see it. So that was what we were after. We were after doing some perfection on the inside, so that way we get some perfection on the outside. So guys, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and clean up these zones. I'm gonna get some more details from the owner if we are going to be doing these or not. So that's gonna kind of progressively move forward with this as we end up doing the frame itself. So we're gonna find out what we're gonna be doing on that pretty soon here. And that's what we're gonna do. So let's clean these up. Let's get this thing ready. Let's get it over to the laser. Let's run some stuff. Let's bring it back. Let's show it, right? Then we're gonna do some color. We're gonna see what it looks like after it has some color. Alright guys, let's take a look and see exactly how it came out before we do any kind of final prep work before the coloring. Here are all the parts that we had to take out of this. I'm going to be honest with you, this ended up being way more challenging than a Glock or an M&P or even the traditional CZs. There happen to be a lot of extra parts in here that need to be taken out. There's a lot of springs. There's a lot of things that only would go out one way from one side of the weapon. It was definitely more challenging than your, like I said, than your typical parts removal. Take that into consideration if you're thinking about doing one of these. Definitely take your time, take some notes, write everything down, because there's just a lot of parts here. One of the things you're also going to find out is I could not get the hammer out. I ended up driving this pin about 3/4 of the way out, and it just would not come all the way out. So I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if there's some kind of a hook on the inside of where the frame is. I did not want to damage the frame. This is also one of the very first times I've gone through the process of taking one of these apart. So it was one of those deals where I didn't really have anybody to ask. I didn't really have a whole lot of content online. I looked online, I just couldn't seem to find a video where somebody took all of the parts out, including the hammer. We removed everything else, so this will end up getting taped. The block and the inside will end up getting taped before we do any of the coloring, but I'm not 100% sure on that. It just seemed as though it was really fighting me during the process, and I didn't want to damage anything. So take that into consideration when you're thinking about taking one of these apart, is that spend some time reviewing it a little bit before you do it, because there's kind of a lot of hassle with this particular model. At least that's my opinion of it. Okay guys, let's take a look and see how this came out. I really like this. We ended up running with a border all the way around the outside. Then we went ahead and did a diamond pattern. Now the diamonds that you're gonna see here are facing left to right. So the long ways would be like the 3 and 9. The short way of the diamond would be 12 to 6. And it matches the barrel. So if you happen to go back and watch the other build video, you'll see that the barrel is where these two kind of come together and kind of just really complement each other, because they are facing the same direction. So same thing is up here. If you take a look here, you can see that we have some nice diamonds here as well, and obviously that matches the barrel. This side came out exactly the same as what would be the left side. Just beautiful overall. I'm very pleased with it being the first go at this. I think over time this pattern will probably mature. I already learned a couple of things just right now. Even though I had perfected the formula, when you start going through and actually putting it into a larger area than just running it in the inside, you end up learning several things, because you're not doing just, you know, one hatch across it, you're doing several hatches across it. So you're starting to learn, like, how is the material actually removing? Is the material actually removing at the power and at the speed that you're after? So there happened to be a learning curve as we were kind of doing this. And one of the other things you're going to notice, which I'll have to do a correction on, is where the block is up here in the front. And maybe this is a poor choice for location, but on the factory one, if you look at the beginning of this video, on the factory side, you'll see these big knobs that are over here, right in this kind of area, and that's kind of for your finger, right? Well, the deal was that we did decide that we wanted to remove those, we wanted to peel those off, and we ended up coming up with the solution that we wanted to match it, right? Just like we see on a lot of the Glocks and stuff. We wanted to do our finger grip to match what would be our grip texture, so we went through that process. So I shaved them down, I cleaned them up, did a fairly decent job at the cleanup. But one of the things I didn't take into consideration when proposing this to my customer and thinking it through was that these areas are actually the most narrow. So if you look right here, you're gonna see we have a little bit of a bow here. I'll have to do a correction on this. So what will end up happening is we'll do a review on this at the end, and I'll show you guys this. But we're gonna end up doing a review on this to solve that problem. I'm not sure if there was a bow there before, because even if you look in the back here, you can kind of see, if you look back here, there's nothing been done here. This one also moves, and it's also thinner back here where this comes together. So you can kind of pry this out a little bit here. So I'm not sure if there was maybe a little bit of a bow there beforehand. I don't know that. I'm assuming that's probably not. Or if there was, it was probably very, very minimal. So what we'll do is we'll do a cleanup, then we'll do a correction on this, on both these sides right here, and then we'll end up going through the process of actually doing a cleanup. I don't think you're really gonna see that bow all that much, especially since we have some lasered area there. I'm gonna do my best to do a correction and a cleanup on it, but for future reference, I'll definitely take that into consideration of what we want to do in these zones. And actually, the bow was there before I actually did any of the laser stippling at all. So what it actually came from was when I shaved the sides down, it must have got hot enough to where it actually warped the plastic a little bit in those zones. It didn't have anything to do with actually the laser stippling itself. But I was at the point where I had already shaved it down, so we might as well laser over it and do a correction all at one time. So we'll go ahead and do a correction on that. That'll be nice and tight whenever we're done with it like it's supposed to be. And we'll see exactly what we come out with. So guys, I'm gonna do a little bit of prep work, some cleanup stuff. I'm gonna do a correction on this. We're gonna go ahead and throw some color on it. Then we're gonna bring it back. Let's take a look and see exactly how it came out as our final product. All right, guys, we have some color on the frame. Let's take a look and see exactly how this came out as our final product. I am extremely pleased with the way this came out in the end. The color took very well. On occasion, you'll go through the process of coloring something and it really just doesn't take. That was not the case. I'm very pleased with it. This is our H235 Coyote Tan. It's going to be Coyote Tan on black. The slide itself is black. Of course, we have a lot of black parts down on the frame itself. We'll have a mag down here. We got a little lanyard loop down here as well. Definitely one of those deals where I think it was a great color choice instead of going all black. Black is obviously the traditional look of the 07. You see those more than you see anything else. And I'm going to be honest. I'm really liking this. A lot of people end up going with like a black frame but a colored slide, and we're doing it a little bit reverse in this one. And I'm kind of digging it. I'm really just really liking it overall. Definitely a beautiful pattern on here. Loving the way that the color took over this. Just clean. There's no better way of saying it than it's clean. Stripped the logo off, stripped off those little knobbies, stripped off the knobbies over here. It's clean. It's just one of those real sleek looking guns. Definitely pleased with the way it came out. Let's talk about the bump, the roll, the issue that we had right in through here. Gone. Take a look at that. She is gone. So I didn't have a chance to take you guys through that process. I ended up doing it late hours of the night with some preparation work that needed to be done before we got the coloring done. So I did it late at night, kind of got everything set up and got it going, and then let that kind of mature throughout the late hours, and then in the morning, shot some color on it. Definitely pleased. We are officially smooth. There is no roll. Let's take you guys through this. There is no roll, hump, or dip, or bump, or anything through here. There's no play. This also does not move at all. It is 100% solid on both sides. Just loving it overall as a final piece. Definitely beautiful. So guys, if you didn't know, there is another video that came out as well. It has the slide. It shows you the other half of this build. We wanted to give you guys the opportunity to watch this as a two-part. There was a lot of content. I mean, really there was. It came out being one of those deals where there was enough content, like we said at the beginning of the video, to just do a dedicated frame. There just doesn't happen to be a lot of the stippling that's out on the market, so we wanted to take it a little bit slower. We wanted to take it just one step at a time to kind of let it unfold, okay? So as you guys have questions, because it's something new, and I know you will, you maybe just have a better understanding of exactly how it did unfold, right, by watching the complete video. So there's an opportunity there. Now, the other thing is I would encourage you to go and watch the slide video. If you want to see this as the final build, slide on frame, you're going to actually see that in the other video. The other video is not going to really show a lot of the stippling portion of it because we made a dedicated video that you're watching now. So what you're going to find is if you watch the other one first, we kind of skipped a lot of the work here. And talk about work. Let's talk about work. Man, oh man. So the last segment that we had here was a bunch of parts that was laying out through here. And I was kind of giving you one of the, the scolding talks about like, hey, pay attention to what you're doing before you do it. And, it kind of came back and hit me in the end because I thought it was difficult taking it down. Yep, nope, that was the easy part. Reassembly was the bear. And that was the problem through the whole issue is that, parts had to go in one way, parts had to go in one time. It was like a sequential based order. So there ended up being like a real pain the way it went through. And actually at the end of the day or at the end of the story, I damaged the disconnect. So I ended up replacing the disconnect in here. It's one of those deals where it wasn't a really expensive part, but it was one of those things where something didn't get put in the right order. I assembled the whole thing. I was like, oh man, this thing's awesome. I had this thing cocked. I pulled the trigger and tink. All of a sudden, this little part comes rolling out the mag well and onto the table, and I'm like, what's that? And then sure enough, I look at it, I go, oh. So I don't know whether it got bent or cracked, or maybe it was just some kind of a defect from the company. I don't know what was going on there. The deal is that it doesn't matter. The replacement needs to be done, and that was what was done. So, you can't give the weapon back to the owner and be like, oh, sorry, hey, it doesn't work, good day. It doesn't really work that way with me. It's one of those things that, I broke it, I fix it, I replace it. That's just how it has to be. You know, let the customer know right up front, we got a part we got to order, we got to get that part in, we got to get that part replaced, and we got to get you back in fully functioning and working order. So that's just kind of the steps that you have to take sometimes when mistakes happen. But overall, guys, it was a pretty fun project between the slide and the frame. Difficulty level ranks up there, you know, and I don't mean slide work or coloring work. I kind of just mean the disassembly. It was definitely higher. I'm not a gunsmith. I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to be first and foremost and upfront about that. I'm a machinist, laser, halfway coloring guy. I don't really have a title. I don't know who I am anymore. But what I will say is I know I'm not a gunsmith, like, period. Like, that's just not in my lineup. Like, if you look at my resume, it's like, dip, 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 skip that one, dip, dip. There is no gunsmith in there. It comes out being one of those deals where those people have experience, and they have the right tools, and they've gone down the path of taking different things apart so they can apply that knowledge to different aspects and different builds. That's not me. You know, what it comes down to be is, for me, is a lot of the Glocks and M&Ps are a module-based system. You pull it out as a piece. You don't pull it out as like 100 pieces that fall apart and you're like, oh, where do I start? So, and that's kind of where this is. Like, you pull the trigger out and like the trigger comes off the bar, and there's like 2 separate pins, and there's like a different spring for the trigger. So it's like everything is like not together as a module. I guess that's the best way to say it. I mean, this is like, I would consider this to be like maybe like real gunsmithing. I mean, maybe I'm not even qualified to say that, but what I can say is that there was a lot more to it. So if you happen to be this guy that's like, yeah, I do Glocks, I could totally do those, you should buy one for yourself and take it apart and reassemble it yourself before you touch any of your customers' guns, because there's definitely a higher level of requirement in order to achieve what you're after. So I guess maybe that's the best way of saying it. The difficulty level is significantly higher than a Glock and M&P, and even some of the other CZs. So I don't know what the deal is behind these, but they are definitely a pain. I guess that's the best way to say it. But guys, if you haven't seen our older content, or even the other build video, go back, watch our older content, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, you're just totally missing out. Ring the bell. There's a little bell beside the subscribe thing. That will put your notifications. It will turn them on. When a new video comes out, you'll get an email. You'll be notified. You can watch that video in your spare time. Definitely ring the bell. That's the way to do it. And feel free to give us a like or dislike, depending upon how you like the content. It helps other people find us. Follow us on Instagram. There's a lot of cool things on Instagram. Go to our webpage. There's a contacts tab. Tons of good stuff on the webpage. A lot of build packages that you can kind of sift through, get an idea of what things cost. Other pictures are also on there to give you some ideas for reference. And, you know, let us know what you have, right? That's the best way to do it. We can take your project, your idea, we can chop it up, dissect it, individually quote it out, say this is a good idea, this is a bad idea, we can do this, we cannot do this. We can kind of really put you in the right area for what you want to have done. And that's kind of what we do. We're kind of like a la carte. You just choose what you want, and that's what you pay for. It's not a set pattern that you must get, or it's a requirement. Like, I had a guy reach out to me this week. He's like, do you do one of these slides? And I think it was like a Performance Center Shield. And we kind of went back and forth, and he sent me a couple pictures, and it was from one of my competitors, and they only do like a full-blown build. Like, you must send in your frame with the barrel with the slide in order to get it done. And it was crazy. It was like $1,700 to get the work done. And I was just like, yeah, no, that's not how we do things. We just do it kind of as you want it, not necessarily like, I want to take all the money out of your bank account. I just want to take out the amount of money out of your bank account for what you actually want to own. There is a difference. We're not requiring you to pay me for all the service if you don't need and or want all the service. So that's one of the main reasons why people reach out to us. It's one of the main reasons why I stay busy, right? That's one of the reasons why you guys get to see new content. These are all things that kind of work together overall. So guys, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, definitely follow us on YouTube if you haven't already. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know. At the end of each one of the videos, we have a little picture that pops up. We have a phone number, we've got an email, we've got some contact information there. If you don't want to go to the webpage, feel free to hit us up by one of those means right there, and we'll see what we can do for you.